Welcome to my channel, where the scariest stories come to life. Before we dive into today's chilling tale, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you never miss a story. Now, let's get into the horror. During 1999, I worked briefly as a vacuum cleaner salesman. The job was as terrible as it sounds. It also required very late nights, as I was often at customers' homes until around 9 p.m. before having to go back to the head office to check in, then drive back home. Often, I wouldn't even arrive home until midnight or later. I was working late this one particular night and was on the home stretch about 10 miles from home when my old, crappy Ford Fiesta started to overheat. I knew the car wouldn't make it home, and I had no choice but to pull over on top of the big, dark, deserted mountain next to my town. My hometown was literally the last town before there were only mountains and forests for miles on end. As I pulled into the mountain parking area with steam pouring out of my engine, this is 100% true, by the way, I could see a white human figure. They were obviously surprised the car was pulling into a deserted parking space in the middle of the night. This figure ran directly in front of my headlights, sprinting from the edge of the clear side of the parking area and into the forest on the other side. I could see it had no clothes and appeared almost luminous and reflective in my lights. To say I shit myself is an understatement. My eyes nearly popped out of my sockets when they ran in front of me. I realized I was now stuck in a dead car on a deserted mountain in the middle of the night with no mobile phone signal. This was back when mobile phones were just starting to become popular, so large chunks of the country had no network coverage. I had no choice but to sit there for an hour until my car cooled down. It had given up the ghost the second I pulled in. So I just sat there in my car alone, staring directly into the forest where I'd seen them run. I had no weapon and no way to contact anyone. There was no passing traffic to flag down for help. I knew for a fact I had actually seen someone. It wasn't a trick of the light. That much was clear. I ruled out any animal that might have been in the Welsh mountains because I was certain I had seen something two-legged and humanoid, with a human-like head, body, arms, and legs. The obvious answer was that it was some strange man who, for some reason, was either wearing white or completely naked. Since we were miles from the nearest home and I was the only car around, I didn't know why anyone would have spent hours walking through thick forests just to hang out in an empty parking area in the middle of nowhere. Eventually, my car cooled down enough for me to limp back home. Nobody really believed me when I told them what I saw, though all my friends were adamant I must have seen a sheep or something. But to this very day, I swear I saw something that night, something different than anything I've ever seen in the forest before. I've been camping many times, biking, hiking, and I've never seen anything like that again. But now, I'm always aware of the possible presence of someone else being out there in the woods with me. So now that the case is over and I can talk about it freely, I figured I would share my story of the time I was abducted. This happened in 2021. I was 20 at the time and had just gotten off work around 11 p.m. I went straight home to get ready to go out and meet my friend at the strip club. He'd messaged me via Facebook Messenger to hang out and smoke. I told him I was meeting someone else and didn't really want to hang out that night, so he offered to drive me to and from. Around 12:30 he arrived to pick me up and said he had to take out some garbage first. He had a couch in the back of the pickup truck bed, which I assumed was the garbage he was talking about. He said he'd made us some margaritas, but I told him I didn't want to drink until I got to my destination. We ended up just smoking marijuana on the way to dump the couch instead. It was about a 25 to 30 minute car ride to where he wanted to dump it. By the time we got to the destination, it was already 1:15 a.m. There was a logging road just off the side of the highway that went on for miles. He drove all the way to the end and left the couch there, then got back in the truck and started driving back toward the highway. Once we were about halfway back, he stopped, put the truck in park, and pulled out a pipe to smoke more marijuana. After taking a hit, he turned to me and stared for a full minute with this weird smirk on his face. All of a sudden, he looked like he wanted to jump at me but stopped himself, his hands frozen in motion as if ready to grab me, I was getting scared. I was frozen in shock, not knowing if he was joking or not. I quickly realized it wasn't a joke. I opened my door like I was about to get out, and he did the same. I closed my door, and he closed his too. We ended up doing this door tag back and forth until he got tired of it, got out, and ran to my side. He threw open my door and tried to pull me out by my legs. I was kicking him and trying to fight back. I pulled out my phone to call the police, but my Face ID wouldn't work. He smacked the phone out of my hands. I kicked him hard in the chest, hard enough that he flew backward and fell onto his butt. I grabbed my purse and jumped out of the truck. I started running toward the highway, checking over my shoulder. He gave me a bit of a head start before chasing after me. When he caught up, he grabbed me by the shoulders and threw me into a ditch. I landed on my stomach, one leg straight and the other bent at a weird angle. He jumped on top of my legs and held my left hand behind my back. I screamed and begged him to bring me home, swearing I wouldn't tell anyone. He got upset at my screaming and tried to suffocate me with one hand while holding my arm back with the other. I kept clawing at his hands with my free hand, struggling to breathe. Finally, he let go of my face. I turned my head to see what he was doing and saw him pulling zip ties out of his front jeans pocket. He zip-tied my hands behind my back and then tried to forcibly pull my outer garments off. I was wearing a skirt and still lying on my stomach. I remember digging my knees into the ground so he couldn't pull anything down. After he failed, he got up and started pacing around, muttering to himself, "It shouldn't have to happen this way, just do what I say." I cried and told him if he was going to do anything, at least take me back to the truck. He did. I'm not going into too much detail about what happened there, but I noticed that once we got back in, he pulled out a small Ziploc baggie with a single condom inside. I asked him what he was doing. He said he was going to need protection. After all that, he got back in the truck. I was still zip-tied. He started driving aimlessly. I kept making up excuses to get him to remove the zip ties, but he wouldn't. At one point, I asked for a cigarette even though I don't smoke. He lit one, smoked a bit, then held it up to my mouth, saying, "I'll hold it for you." At this point, I thought, what can I do to survive? I really believed I was going to die. I started saying things like, "You can be my sugar daddy. I'll take you out to dinner tomorrow. If sex was all you wanted, you could have just said so." He loved it. He even said he would put me on his life insurance policy so I'd get the money when he died. After calming him down this way, I asked again if he could take the zip ties off. He pulled to the side of the road, took out a mini pocket knife from his keys, and cut them off me. It took a few tries because they were on so tight. He gave me my phone back too. I noticed he'd also taken my Apple Watch during the struggle and asked for it. He looked surprised and said, "We need to go back and get it." He turned around and started heading back to where everything had happened. I was terrified. I thought, after all this, he's taking me back to kill me. When we got there, he told me to stay in the truck. He searched the ditch for about 5 minutes, came back, and said he couldn't find it, but he'd look again in the morning when it was light out. We got back on the highway and drove back to town. Once there, he asked, "What do you want to do now?" Like nothing had happened. I said, "Take me to my mom's house. I have work in 4 hours and I'm really tired." It was 4:30 a.m. by this point. Thankfully, he did bring me back. When I got inside, I Googled his name. I didn't know it before that night, but he was on parole for first-degree murder. He had killed someone for their life insurance policy. I'm 22 now, and I'm thankful I survived. I had to testify against him, and he was found guilty on November 6, 2023, of all the charges he was accused of. As of now, he hasn't been sentenced yet. I thought I'd share a creepy story that happened to my dad and his cousin when they were young. This happened about 20 years ago. It wasn't deep in the woods or total seclusion, but it was still deeply disturbing. When my dad was younger, he would often sleep over at his cousin's house on weekends. The house was a single-story layout, with the front door leading directly into the living room, which connected to the kitchen. A long hallway extended from the living room, leading to the bathroom, his aunt and uncle's room, and finally the bedroom where he and his cousin slept. Their bedroom was small, with just a bed, a dresser, and a closet. The bed was positioned against the window, so when they lay down, they faced the closet and the doorway. One night, around 3 a.m., my dad recalled seeing shadows emerging from the closet. He tried to wake his cousin, but couldn't. Eventually, when nothing else happened, he fell back asleep. The following night, he heard a noise coming from right outside the window, just behind the bed. This time, he managed to wake his cousin, and they both ran into the bedroom where their aunt and uncle were sleeping. They checked the house, but nothing happened for the rest of the night. A couple of weekends later, my dad was back over for another sleepover, and this time, things got terrifying. Around 1 a.m., my dad once again heard strange noises coming from the closet. Then, he saw more shadows moving inside. Something about what he saw must have terrified him more than usual, because he suddenly screamed, and at that moment, a man sprinted out of the closet, ran down the hallway, and bolted out the front door. His cousin, aunt, and uncle all woke up in shock. The police were called and investigated, but they never found anything. The running theory is that some creep had been sneaking into the house and hiding in the closet. The window behind the bed made it easy for him to spy on the room and know when the boys were asleep. Even now, when they tell the story, they both seem genuinely shaken. It still gives me chills every time I think about it. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to give the video a like and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a terrifying tale. See you in the next one.